Orion Paxton, the latest human delegate, was an unlikely hero. His background in ethology made him unique among diplomats primarily versed in political sciences. As he stepped through the airlock of the Galactic Council station, a floating citadel at the edge of the neutral zone, the bustling activity abruptly ceased. Hundreds of eyes from various species glanced his way, their attention caught not just by the novelty of a new human delegate, but by the ripple of murmurs about Earth's controversial entry into the Council. The architecture of the station was a marvel, a symphony of technology and design from countless worlds. The walls shimmered with adaptive nanostructures that reflected the aesthetic preferences of whoever walked by. For Orion, they took on a soothing, Earth-like quality with soft greens and browns, which oddly comforted him in the sea of alien faces. He was greeted by Secretary Taval, a lithe, blue-skinned Andalite with eyes that sparkled with a friendly, if somewhat calculating, light. "Welcome, Delegate Paxton." Taval's voice was melodious, the translator device around Orion's neck converting her tones into fluent English. "Your arrival has been most anticipated. Humanity's methods are quite the topic of discussion." Orion smiled, his diplomatic training kicking in. "Thank you, Secretary Taval. I hope to contribute positively and learn much from the esteemed members of the Council." As they walked towards the main assembly hall, the diverse crowd resumed their hustle, though many still shot curious glances at Orion. The whispers continued, a mix of intrigue and skepticism. Humanity was still a young member of the galactic community, its entry into the Council a controversial decision due to Earth's tumultuous history and rapid technological advancement. Arriving at the assembly hall, a vast dome that could seat representatives from over 1,000 planets, Orion was struck by the sheer scale of the Council's ambition. Above, a holographic display showed a rotating galaxy, each star tagged with data only understandable to those who studied them. Taval led him to his designated seat, positioned slightly apart from the more central members, an unspoken reminder of Earth's probationary status. As he sat, the Andalite leaned closer. "Your first session will begin shortly. Today we discuss the Grolax issue. It is a delicate matter. Your insights, especially given your unique expertise, will be invaluable." The Galactic Council's chamber hummed with low conversations as the session began, the massive screen at the front of the room illuminating with the agenda. "The Grolax Sanctuary Initiative," it read, and a hush fell over the assembly as the topic transitioned to the forefront. Ambassador Zilthar, a Jovian with a commanding presence, addressed the council. His voice boomed through the chamber, amplified to resonate across the diverse auditory ranges of the attendees. "The Grolax species remains a significant concern. Despite our efforts, their aggression has not been mitigated. We must decide whether to continue our containment or consider eradication." A murmur of shock rippled through the assembly. Eradication was a harsh, last-resort measure seldom employed due to the Council's strong preservation laws. Orion felt a surge of urgency. Rising from his seat, he caught the eye of the presiding officer and was nodded forward. His heart pounded as every eye in the chamber fixed on him, the new, untested human delegate. "Esteemed members of the Council," Orion began, his voice steady despite the palpable tension, "I propose an alternative approach. On Earth, we have had success in rehabilitating species once considered beyond help. What if we could apply similar principles to the Grolax?" Whispers fluttered around the room. Rehabilitation of such a dangerous creature was unheard of in the Council's history. Ambassador Threx of Draxon, a reptilian species known for their cautious nature, raised an eyebrow. "Delegate Paxton, are you suggesting that the Grolax, creatures that have resisted all previous attempts at pacification, could be tamed?" Orion nodded. "Not tamed, Ambassador, but understood. Earth's experience has shown that understanding leads to breakthroughs. I suggest a controlled study, where Earth's methods are tested on the Grolax. If we succeed, we may save a species and gain invaluable knowledge." Secretary Taval interjected, her tone skeptical yet intrigued. "And if you fail, Delegate Paxton, are you prepared for the consequences?" Orion met her gaze, his determination clear. "I am. Moreover, Earth is willing to assume full responsibility for the study, under the supervision of the Council, of course. The room was silent for a moment, the weight of his proposal settling over the assembly. Then, Ambassador Threx leaned forward, his voice cutting through the stillness. "I propose a challenge, then. Delegate Paxton, if you are so confident, we invite you to Galaxia. Face a Grolax in their environment. Should you manage to approach one safely, your proposal will be considered." Orion's eyes narrowed, understanding the stakes. It was a high-risk challenge, but acceptance was his only chance to prove Earth's potential contribution. "I accept your challenge, Ambassador Threx. I will go to Galaxia." The decision was met with a mix of admiration and disbelief. As the assembly adjourned, the buzz of conversation swelled, everyone speculating about the audacious human who dared to face a Grolax. Orion, however, felt a calm resolve. He was not just fighting for a place in the Council, he was fighting for a belief in a better way. The decision made in the Galactic Council chamber quickly reverberated across the station. Orion's audacious acceptance of the challenge had many delegates questioning the wisdom and bravado of humans. In private, discussions flared about Earth's unusual methods and their possible implications for galactic protocols on wildlife management. Orion, meanwhile, prepared for the journey to Galaxia. He was joined by Ziklar, an esteemed scientist from Zithoria known for her expertise in xenobiology, and RK-9, a robotic guard unit programmed with the latest defensive and survival protocols. Ziklar, a slender being with an exoskeleton that shimmered like polished metal under the station's lights, approached Orion with a datapad in her clawed hand. "Delegate Paxton, I have compiled all available data on the Grolax. They are highly territorial and have senses acutely attuned to movement and vibrations. We must tread carefully." Orion absorbed the information, his mind already ticking through Earth's analogous creatures and strategies used by animal behaviorists. "Thank you, Ziklar. Your insight will be invaluable on this mission. I believe that understanding their behavior will be key to interacting with them safely." RK-9, whose visual sensors glowed faintly, added in a modulated tone, "I will ensure all possible security measures are in place, Delegate Paxton. However, the unpredictability of organic entities, particularly apex predators, cannot be fully anticipated by current algorithms." The trio boarded the vessel that would take them to Galaxia. The journey through hyperspace was quick, the star lines blurring into the white void beyond the viewport. Orion spent the time reviewing holographic videos of Grolax in their natural habitat, noting their reactions to various stimuli. Upon arriving at Galaxia, they were greeted by a dense, mist-covered jungle that extended as far as the eye could see. The atmosphere was thick, heavy with the scent of alien flora. The planet's gravity was slightly higher than Earth's, a constant pressure that they would need to adjust to quickly. Ziklar coordinated with the ship's AI to set a perimeter around their landing site. The nearest known Grolax territory is approximately 3 kilometers north of here. We should be able to reach it by foot in a few hours. Orion suited up in specially designed gear that minimized noise and reflected less light, reducing their chances of attracting unwanted attention. He checked his pack, ensuring that he had all the necessary equipment, including non-invasive biomonitors and calming pheromones synthesized from the Grolax's known prey. As they ventured into the jungle, the sounds of alien wildlife filled the air, a cacophony of cries and rustles that made the forest seem alive with hidden watchers. Orion moved with deliberate care, mindful of every step, every breath. They soon reached the boundary of the Grolax territory. Orion signaled for a brief halt, checking his gear one last time. "Remember, the goal is not just to approach the Grolax, but to interact in a way that shows we can coexist. Let's make sure we do this right." The dense undergrowth of Galaxia's jungle was unlike anything Orion had ever seen on Earth. Towering alien trees with bioluminescent leaves cast eerie glows over their path, illuminating the thick, humid air that clung to everything with a persistent dampness. The chorus of unknown creatures created a constant backdrop of alien calls, adding to the unsettling beauty of the planet. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, Ziklar adjusted her sensor pack, which buzzed softly, scanning the surroundings. "The local fauna readings are off the charts," she remarked, her voice carrying a tone of awe mixed with caution. "The biodiversity here is remarkable. However, this also increases the risk of encountering a Grolax unexpectedly." RK-9 moved ahead, its sensors whirring quietly as it paved a path through the less dense parts of the jungle. "I am updating our route based on the safest and most direct path to the Grolax watering hole," the robot informed them. "It is a known congregation site for them during this planet's twilight hours." Orion followed closely, his senses heightened to every movement around him. He practiced the calming techniques he planned to use on the Grolax, whispering soothing phrases and visualizing peaceful interactions. This mental preparation was crucial. He needed to embody calmness and non-threat to have any chance of a positive encounter. As they neared the watering hole, Orion's anticipation grew. The environment changed subtly, the vegetation less dense, offering clearer views but fewer places to hide if needed. Ziklar signaled a pause, pointing to a nearby bush where a small creature with 6 legs and iridescent wings looked out curiously. "Life thrives at every level here," she whispered, a reminder of the planet's wild nature. They reached the edge of the watering hole as Galaxia's twin suns began to set, casting long shadows over the water. It was a large, clear pool, reflecting the first stars of the evening. The beauty of the scene was stark against the danger it represented. Suddenly, RK-9 halted, extending an arm to stop Orion. "Movement ahead, approximately 30 meters northeast from our location, likely a Grolax based on size and displacement patterns." Orion nodded, his heart rate increasing. He slowly approached the spot RK-9 indicated, his movements deliberate and unhurried. As he drew closer, the brush parted slightly, and the unmistakable outline of a Grolax became visible. It was immense, its scales a deep, shimmering blue that seemed to absorb the fading light. The creature's eyes, large and unblinking, focused intently on Orion. He remembered Ziklar's advice about their sensitivity to vibrations and kept his breathing even, minimizing his movements. Speaking in a low, soothing tone, Orion began to communicate his peaceful intentions. "I'm here to learn, not to harm," he murmured, the translators in his suit converting his words into vibrations that mimicked the Grolax's communication patterns. The Grolax watched him for a long, tense moment. Then, unexpectedly, it lowered its massive head slightly, an acknowledgement that it had heard and perhaps understood. Orion continued his approach, each step measured and calm. He stopped a few feet away, close enough to see the individual scales on the Grolax's snout. Extending his hand slowly, he spoke again. "We can share this world." To the amazement of Ziklar and the silent vigil of RK-9, the Grolax leaned forward, allowing Orion's hand to gently touch its head. The contact was light, but the significance was monumental. The moment Orion's hand touched the Grolax, a ripple of shock and wonder passed through him. His heart raced as the creature's immense eye regarded him with what he hoped was curiosity rather than aggression. The touch was gentle, the beast's rough, cool scales brushing against his palm. Orion maintained his calm demeanor, aware that any sudden movement could disrupt the fragile peace they had achieved. Ziklar and RK-9 watched from a safe distance, their sensors and recording equipment capturing every moment of this unprecedented interaction. Ziklar's datapad was alive with readings, her eyes flicking back and forth between the screen and the scene before her. "Orion, your vitals are steady and the Grolax shows signs of relaxation. This is incredible," she whispered into her communicator, her voice a mix of scientific fascination and barely contained excitement. The Grolax's head remained lowered, and slowly it emitted a low, rumbling sound. Orion, interpreting it as a vocalization rather than a growl, continued to speak softly, reinforcing his peaceful intent. "We're here to understand each other, to learn from each other," he said, his words translated into vibrations that mirrored the Grolax's own communication. After a few moments, the Grolax lifted its head slightly and stepped back. Orion slowly withdrew his hand, giving the creature space, showing he respected its boundaries. The Grolax turned, its massive body moving with surprising grace, and walked back towards the edge of the watering hole. It paused, looked back at Orion once more, then disappeared into the thickening shadows. Breathing out a long-held breath, Orion turned to rejoin Ziklar and RK-9. "Did you get all that?" he asked, a small smile playing on his lips despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. Ziklar nodded, her eyes wide with awe. "Every data point was recorded. Orion, what you've done could change the way we interact with not just the Grolax, but potentially other species as well. This was more than successful. It was historic." RK-9's sensors dimmed slightly as it switched to a less alert mode. "The immediate vicinity remains secure. It is advisable, however, to vacate the area soon. The presence of an alpha Grolax may attract others, and not all may react as favorably." Acknowledging the robot's advice, Orion gave the area one last look. "Let's head back to the ship. We have a lot to report, and I suspect the Council will want to review our findings as soon as possible." The journey back through the jungle was quiet, each member of the team lost in thought over the day's events. Orion felt a mix of relief and exhilaration. He had proven that humanity's approach could offer something unique and valuable to the galaxy. More importantly, he had made contact with one of the most feared creatures in the universe and had come away unscathed. Upon their return to the Council station, the news of Orion's successful interaction with the Grolax spread like wildfire. Delegates from various worlds sought him out, eager for details and implications of his approach. The footage of his encounter was reviewed and analyzed, not just by scientists, but by diplomats and policymakers as well. Secretary Taval approached Orion during one of the briefings. "Delegate Paxton, your demonstration has opened many eyes, including mine. There's much to discuss regarding the next steps. Earth's methods could indeed prove revolutionary." Orion nodded, ready for the long conversations ahead. "I look forward to discussing how we can integrate what we've learned with the Council's policies. There's a lot we can achieve together." As he prepared for the numerous meetings and presentations that awaited him, Orion knew this was just the beginning. Earth's place in the Council was no longer just as a member, but as a pioneer of a new way of thinking about and interacting with the galaxy's myriad life forms. After the groundbreaking interaction on Galaxia, Orion returned to the Galactic Council station with a sense of purpose and urgency. His successful contact with a Grolax not only boosted his confidence, but also gave Earth a new standing among the galactic community. However, the real work was just beginning. Back on the station, the assembly was buzzing with discussions about the implications of Orion's approach. As he walked into the assembly hall for the follow-up session, his presence commanded a new level of respect. Whispers filled the air, and many delegates nodded in acknowledgement as he passed. Ambassador Threx, who had originally challenged Orion, approached with a rare smile on his reptilian face. "Delegate Paxton, I must admit, I did not expect such a positive outcome. You have opened our eyes to new possibilities." Orion nodded, appreciating the ambassador's words. "Thank you, Ambassador Threx. I hope this will lead to more cooperative efforts and deeper understanding across species." As the session convened, the presiding officer announced the next agenda item: review and discuss the human delegates' interaction with the Grolax. Orion was called to the podium to present his findings and discuss the next steps. Standing before the assembly, Orion began, "Esteemed delegates, the encounter with the Grolax was not just about proving that humans could interact with a feared predator. It was about demonstrating the potential for empathy, understanding, and peaceful coexistence." He continued, detailing the non-invasive techniques used, the preparations, and the respectful approach that led to the successful interaction. Orion's presentation included clips from the encounter, showing the cautious yet deliberate approach and the eventual gentle contact with the Grolax. "The significance of this encounter extends beyond just one human and one Grolax," Orion explained. "It challenges us to rethink how we interact with all species, particularly those we don't fully understand." The room was silent, many of the delegates absorbed in thought, the implications of his words sinking in. After his presentation, the floor opened for questions. A delegate from a water-based planet raised a concern. Delegate Paxton, while your success is commendable, how do we ensure safety in these interactions? The Grolax are known for their unpredictability. Orion responded, that's a valid concern. Every step of our approach was calculated to minimize risk. Continuous monitoring, extensive research on the species' behavior, and preparatory measures are essential. We propose developing a formal protocol based on these principles. Another delegate from a technologically advanced planet suggested, could we enhance this protocol with technology? Perhaps integrating biomonitoring devices and environmental controls could further reduce risks. Orion welcomed the suggestion. Absolutely. Integrating technology to better understand and predict behaviors can make these interactions safer and more informative. We look forward to collaborating on developing these technologies. The session moved into deeper discussions, with various delegates expressing interest in participating in or supporting the initiative. The mood in the room shifted from skepticism to cautious optimism, and plans were made to form a committee to oversee the development of protocols for interspecies interactions. As the session concluded, Orion felt a surge of accomplishment. He had not only managed to change the perspective of the Council on Earth's capabilities, but it also ignited a potential shift in galactic policy towards more empathetic and scientifically informed approaches to dealing with alien species. Walking out of the assembly hall, Orion was approached by Secretary Taval. Delegate Paxton, your presentation has sparked a significant interest. Let's schedule a meeting to discuss the formation of the committee. We have a lot to plan, and your insight will be crucial. Orion agreed, ready to take on the responsibility. Thank you, Secretary Taval. I look forward to it. The formation of the committee was a testament to the Galactic Council's newfound openness to alternative methods of species interaction. Orion, appointed as one of the lead advisors, worked tirelessly alongside members from various species to outline the protocol that would guide future interspecies interactions. The enthusiasm around the project was palpable, fueled by the promise of fostering understanding and peace across the galaxy. The committee met regularly in a conference room aboard the Galactic Council station, where holographic displays of planets, species data, and behavioral models floated in the air, creating a vibrant backdrop for their discussions. Z. Clar, now a key member of the team, often presented findings from her ongoing research, which provided critical insights into the behaviors of various species considered dangerous or unpredictable. During one of the committee meetings, Orion unveiled a draft of the Paxton Protocol, named by the committee in honor of his pioneering work. The protocol outlined comprehensive guidelines for approaching and interacting with alien species, emphasizing non-invasive techniques, extensive preparatory research, and the use of technology to ensure safety and communication. As we've seen with the Grolax, approaching with an understanding of the creature's sensory and communication patterns is crucial, Orion explained, pointing to a chart that displayed various sensory thresholds. Each species will have its protocol tailored to its specific needs and characteristics. The committee members, including a Tevronian neurospecialist and a human engineer specializing in biocompatible technologies, debated various aspects of the protocol, from ethical considerations to technical feasibilities. The discussions were intense, but Orion's leadership kept the focus on the ultimate goal: peaceful coexistence. Meanwhile, news of the developing protocol and its successful preliminary tests spread throughout the station and beyond, sparking interest from educational institutions and conservation groups. Orion was invited to speak at several intergalactic forums, where he shared his vision and the details of the encounters that had started it all. During one such forum, a delegate from a planet known for its aggressive wildlife raised a question that captured the essence of many people's concerns. Delegate Paxton, how do you address the fear that many species naturally feel towards creatures they perceive as predators? Isn't there a risk that fear could undermine these efforts? Orion nodded thoughtfully. Fear is a natural response, and it's something we take very seriously. Part of our protocol involves training not just the handlers but also the public, educating them about these species in ways that foster respect rather than fear. By increasing understanding, we decrease fear. The progress of the Paxton Protocol and the positive reactions it garnered did not go unnoticed by the Council's higher echelons. Secretary Taval, observing the positive shift in interspecies relations, convened a special session of the Council to discuss implementing the protocol galaxy-wide. The positive momentum surrounding the Paxton Protocol, however, was not without its detractors. As Orion prepared for the special session, the undercurrents of dissent among certain factions within the Council began to surface. Some delegates expressed concerns over the potential risks and unintended consequences of such close interactions with dangerous species. Others feared that the protocol might lead to lax safety standards, potentially endangering lives. In the corridors of the Galactic Council station, whispers of opposition turned into open debates. A particularly vocal opponent was Ambassador Vrex from the militaristic planet of Kratox. Vrex believed that the protocol underestimated the inherent dangers of wild predators. Are we to believe that all species can be approached with a smile and good intentions? This is naive, and dangerously so, Vrex argued in a crowded assembly hall. Orion, aware of the rising tensions, met with his allies before the session to strategize. Zeklar suggested emphasizing the scientific rigor of their approach. We must highlight the extensive research and trials that have backed every step of the protocol. It's not about reckless contact, it's about informed, controlled interaction, she advised. RK-9, updated with security protocols to handle the increased scrutiny, scanned the assembly for any signs of disruptive behavior. All security measures have been reinforced. The session will proceed without external interference, the robot assured Orion. As the session convened, Secretary Taval called the room to order, and Orion stepped up to the podium. The room, filled with representatives from hundreds of planets, buzzed with a mix of anticipation and skepticism. Esteemed delegates, Orion began, his voice steady despite the palpable tension. The fears that have been voiced regarding the Paxton Protocol are not without merit. However, let us remember that each step of this protocol has been carefully designed, tested, and reviewed by experts across various fields. Orion continued, presenting data from the trials, testimonials from trainers, and endorsements from environmental and ethical councils. The presentation was meticulous, designed to address each concern raised by the opposition. However, Ambassador Vrex stood, interrupting the presentation. Delegate Paxton, while your efforts are commendable, how do you propose we manage the risk to populated areas? Accidents could lead to catastrophic consequences. Orion acknowledged the concern. A valid point, Ambassador. The protocol includes strict guidelines for containment and response strategies. Furthermore, each species interaction is graded on a risk scale which determines the level of containment required. No high-risk interactions are allowed near populated areas. The debate continued, with several delegates questioning the feasibility and long-term implications of the protocol. Yet, as the session progressed, the tone began to shift. Orion's comprehensive responses and the robust data presented began to sway more of the assembly. As the hours stretched on, the opposition's arguments began to lose steam. Orion's calm, well-reasoned approach, coupled with strong backing from scientific and environmental communities, gradually built a consensus. By the time the vote was called, the chamber was charged with a cautious optimism. The final tally showed a significant majority in favor of adopting the Paxton Protocol galaxy-wide. Despite the fierce debate and strong opposition, the protocol was approved, marking a landmark victory for Orion and his team. After the session, Secretary Taval approached Orion, her expression one of respect. Delegate Paxton, that was an impressive display of diplomacy and determination. The Council is lucky to have you. Orion, relieved but aware of the challenges ahead, nodded. Thank you, Secretary. I believe we've made the right decision today for all species involved. The days following the adoption of the Paxton Protocol were a whirlwind of activity. With the protocol now officially part of the Galactic Council's guidelines, Orion and his team were tasked with overseeing its implementation across various member planets. This phase was crucial, as it would truly test the viability and effectiveness of the protocol in diverse environments and with different species. Orion was deeply involved in setting up training centers, where local handlers and scientists could learn the methods prescribed by the protocol. These centers also served as research facilities to further study interspecies interactions and refine the protocol based on real-world data. Ziklar led several of these initiatives, applying her deep knowledge of xenobiology to ensure that the training was scientifically robust and culturally sensitive. One of the first large-scale implementations took place on the planet Viridian 3, a world known for its rich biodiversity and complex ecosystems. The planet was home to the Vrax, a predatory species that had previously been the cause of several fatal incidents. Handling the Vrax would be a definitive test of the Paxton Protocol's effectiveness. As Orion arrived on Viridian 3, he was greeted by a team of eager local conservationists and handlers. The planet's dense jungles and vibrant wildlife made it a rich ground for applying and observing the protocol in action. "Welcome, Delegate Paxton," said Lyra, the head of the Viridian Conservation Authority. "We're ready to see the Paxton Protocol in action. Our teams have been briefed and we're particularly interested in how it will help us manage our interactions with the Vrax." The training sessions began with detailed presentations on the Vrax's sensory capabilities and behavioral patterns. Orion emphasized the importance of understanding the creatures from a biological and psychological perspective. "It's not just about safety," he explained to the gathered handlers. "It's about establishing a connection that respects the creature's natural behaviors and habitat." After several days of rigorous training, the team embarked on their first field application. They approached a known Vrax territory, equipped with non-invasive monitoring tools, and followed all the guidelines set out by the protocol. Orion led the team, his calm demeanor setting the tone for the encounter. The first sighting of a Vrax was tense. The creature, with its shimmering scales and penetrating eyes, watched the team closely. Orion, mirroring the practices he had used with the Grolax, communicated non-threatening intentions through controlled body language and specially designed pheromone emitters that mimicked calming signals in the Vrax's chemical communication spectrum. To the team's relief and amazement, the Vrax did not attack. Instead, it observed them from a distance, eventually retreating into the jungle without any aggressive behavior. The encounter, recorded and later analyzed, provided valuable data that validated the effectiveness of the protocol. The success on Viridian 3 was just the beginning. Similar reports started coming in from other planets, each adding to the growing body of evidence that the Paxton Protocol was not only viable, but transformative. Back on the Galactic Council station, Orion presented these findings in a comprehensive report. The Assembly watched footage of the peaceful encounters, a stark contrast to the historical videos of violent clashes with the same species. Thanks to the Paxton Protocol, we are seeing a decrease in wildlife-related incidents and an increase in successful conservation efforts, Orion reported, his voice filled with pride and hope. "This is more than a protocol. It's a new way of living in harmony with the creatures of our galaxy." The Assembly erupted in applause, the support overwhelming and gratifying. Even former skeptics acknowledged the significant progress made, and the success served as a powerful validation of Orion's vision and efforts. As he stepped down from the podium, Secretary Taval met him with a warm smile. "Orion, you've not only changed how we interact with other species, but perhaps how we view ourselves in the cosmic order. Congratulations." With the Paxton Protocol established and validated across multiple environments, the focus shifted to expanding its application. The success on Viridian 3 had sparked a wave of interest across the galaxy, and many planetary governments requested the Galactic Council's assistance in training their own teams. To manage this growing demand, Orion initiated the formation of the Interspecies Interaction Academy, IIA, a dedicated training center on the Galactic Council station. Orion's vision for the IIA was a comprehensive educational facility that not only taught the methods outlined in the Paxton Protocol, but also fostered a deeper understanding of xenopsychology and environmental stewardship. The academy was designed to be a hub where scientists, handlers, and diplomats from different planets could learn, exchange ideas, and return to their homeworlds equipped to implement the protocol. The opening of the IIA was marked by a large gathering of delegates, scientists, and media from across the galaxy. Orion stood at the podium in the main lecture hall, the walls lined with holographic displays of diverse ecosystems and species interactions. "Today, we are not just opening an academy," he announced. "We are inaugurating a new era of galactic unity and respect for life in all its forms." Classes at the IIA began with students from over 50 planets. The curriculum included theoretical courses on animal behavior, practical simulations of encounters with various species, and ethics of interspecies interactions. Zklar took on the role of lead instructor for xenobiology, while RK9 was programmed to assist with safety and emergency response training. One of the most popular courses was the Field Application module, where students participated in controlled field trips to nearby uninhabited planets. These exercises were crucial for applying the theoretical knowledge in real-world scenarios. During one such trip, a group of students, under Orion's supervision, successfully calmed a herd of stampeding Xanthor beasts using non-invasive barrier technologies and calming pheromones. The success stories from these field applications were documented and shared across the galaxy, serving as powerful testimonials to the effectiveness of the training and the methods. Graduates of the IIA began to form a new vanguard of planetary conservation teams, fundamentally changing how their worlds interacted with native species. Amidst the busy schedule of managing the IIA, Orion received an invitation to a high-level conference on Xanthi Prime, a world renowned for its conservation efforts. The conference aimed to discuss the broader implications of the Paxton Protocol on galactic biodiversity conservation. At the conference, Orion delivered a keynote address. "The Paxton Protocol has taught us that understanding and respect are the foundations of peace, not just between nations, but between species," he said. "What we practice here can be a model for resolving conflicts in other aspects of galactic affairs." His speech was met with standing ovation, and several new partnerships were formed to support biodiversity projects across the galaxy. Orion's work had begun to influence policy at the highest levels, suggesting that the principles of the Paxton Protocol might one day extend to broader diplomatic and interstellar relations. As he returned to the IIA, Orion felt a profound sense of accomplishment and responsibility. The Academy was growing, and its impact was rippling through the galaxy. But he also knew that the real success of his efforts would be measured in the enduring peace and understanding between the myriad species of the galaxy. Each new class of graduates, each successful field application, was a step towards that lofty goal. The Interspecies Interaction Academy, IIA, continued to grow under Orion's leadership, becoming a cornerstone of the Galactic Council's efforts to promote harmony between species. As the Academy celebrated its first anniversary, a new development came that would further cement its importance. During a routine field training session on a lush, uncharted planet, a particularly curious creature emerged from the foliage, drawn by the group of students. It was a Jirik, a species known for their intelligence and elusive nature. The creature approached the group tentatively, its vibrant, feather-like appendages fluttering with apparent curiosity. Orion, who was overseeing the session, recognized the significance of this voluntary interaction. The Jirik were considered highly intelligent, but were rarely observed up close due to their skittish nature. Orion carefully instructed the students to remain calm and allow the Jirik to approach on its own terms. The students followed his guidance, and the creature came closer, eventually accepting a specially designed treat from one of the trainees. This encounter marked the beginning of what would become a significant partnership. Over the following weeks, more Jiriks began to appear during the sessions, interacting with the students and allowing researchers to study their behaviors and communication methods. The Jirik's willingness to engage became a case study at the Academy, providing valuable insights into interspecies trust and cooperation. Seeing the potential for a deeper connection, Orion proposed a joint research initiative between the Academy and the Jirik's Habitat Conservation Team. The project aimed to study the Jiriks in their natural environment while applying the principles of the Paxton Protocol to ensure respectful and non-intrusive interactions. The project quickly gained approval, and a team of researchers and students from the IIA set up a field station on the Jirik's home planet. The station was designed to have minimal environmental impact, using advanced technology to blend seamlessly into the surroundings. The Girics, intrigued by the visitors, frequently visited the station, participating in controlled studies that explored their unique communication techniques and social structures. One Giric, whom the team named Titan due to his unusually large size and bold nature, became particularly involved. Titan regularly interacted with the team, demonstrating complex problem-solving skills and even initiating games. Titan's behavior suggested a level of intelligence and emotional complexity that was far greater than previously understood. Orion documented Titan's interactions in a series of reports that were shared with the Galactic Council and the wider scientific community. The reports highlighted the potential for interspecies learning and the benefits of the Paxton Protocol in fostering these relationships. The success of the Giric initiative led to an increased focus on similar projects across the galaxy. Orion's vision of a network of research stations, each dedicated to studying and interacting with different species under the guidelines of the Paxton Protocol, began to take shape. As the network expanded, the galaxy watched with growing interest. The success stories from these interactions not only proved the efficacy of the Paxton Protocol, but also demonstrated the potential for a more integrated and harmonious galactic society. Species that had once been feared or misunderstood were now seen as partners in the galactic community, each contributing to a deeper understanding of life's diversity. Orion, reflecting on the journey from his first encounter with a Grolax to the establishment of this interspecies network, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The trust and friendship that had developed with Titan and the Girics were emblematic of what he hoped to achieve across the galaxy. With the IIA thriving and new partnerships forming, Orion knew that the journey toward universal understanding and peace was well underway. Each new ally, each successful interaction was a step toward a future where all species could coexist in mutual respect and curiosity. The growing success of the Interspecies Interaction Academy and the expanding network of peaceful cohabitation initiatives were testament to the effectiveness of the Paxton Protocol. However, as the galaxy began to embrace these new methods, a challenge arose that threatened to undermine the progress made. During a high-profile demonstration on a planet called Saren 5, where Orion was showcasing the protocol's application with a notoriously aggressive species known as the Dranics, an unexpected crisis erupted. Unknown to the handlers and observers, a faction within the Galactic Council, skeptical of Earth's growing influence and the sweeping changes brought about by the Paxton Protocol, had plotted to disrupt the demonstration. The incident began when a group of Dranics, which were believed to be securely contained and gradually acclimating to human presence, suddenly became agitated. The security systems failed inexplicably, releasing the Dranics into the observation area where delegates, journalists, and dignitaries were gathered. Panic ensued as the crowd tried to evacuate the area. Orion, realizing the gravity of the situation, quickly took charge. His training and instincts kicked in as he began directing the crowd towards the emergency shelters, all while trying to calm the agitated Dranics using the protocol's non-verbal calming techniques. Zklar and RK-9, who were also present, assisted in the efforts. RK-9 deployed a series of non-lethal deterrents designed to gently herd the Dranics away from the fleeing crowd. Meanwhile, Zklar used her knowledge of the Dranics' sensory preferences to adjust the environmental controls, creating a more calming atmosphere for them. Thanks to their swift and coordinated actions, the situation was brought under control without any serious injuries. Investigations later revealed that the security system's failure was due to sabotage, executed by those who opposed the widespread adoption of the Paxton Protocol. They had hoped to prove that the protocol was flawed and dangerous. The revelation of sabotage caused a major uproar across the Galactic Council. While some used the incident to fuel their arguments against the Paxton Protocol, others rallied in support of Orion and his team, impressed by their handling of the crisis. Orion addressed the council after the incident, standing before a chamber filled with tension and concern. This attempt to undermine our work not only endangered lives but sought to sow fear and distrust among us, Orion stated. his voice resolute. However, it also demonstrated the strength and effectiveness of the Paxton Protocol, even in unforeseen and perilous situations. The incident, rather than weakening the resolve of the Council, strengthened it. Many saw the sabotage as a desperate act by those afraid of change. The Council voted overwhelmingly to enhance security measures for future demonstrations and to continue supporting the protocol's rollout. The crisis also led to an unexpected alliance. The delegates of Seren 5, initially wary of the protocol, expressed their gratitude for the team's handling of the situation and requested that the IIA establish a training center on their planet to study and implement the protocol locally. They recognized the potential for peaceful interspecies interactions and were eager to be part of the initiative. As Orion and his team expanded their efforts, including rebuilding trust where it had been shaken by the incident, the Galaxy watched and learned. The response to the sabotage not only vindicated the Paxton Protocol, but also underscored a universal truth. Understanding and preparation were key to navigating the complexities of a diverse galaxy. Following the incident on Seren 5, the Galactic Council convened a special session to address the security concerns raised by the sabotage. Orion, as the face of the Paxton Protocol, was called upon to speak about the lessons learned and the steps forward. The atmosphere was tense. The stakes had never been higher for Orion and his team's vision. "Esteemed members of the Council," Orion began, his voice carrying through the grand hall, "the recent events on Seren 5 have shown us that while our path is promising, it is also fraught with challenges, not just from the species we seek to understand, but sometimes from within our own ranks." Orion continued, detailing the swift actions taken during the crisis. He emphasized how the protocol's guidelines had helped prevent a catastrophe, showcasing the importance of the training provided by the Interspecies Interaction Academy. "Our response under pressure," he asserted, "proves that the principles of the Paxton Protocol are not only sound but essential in promoting a safer, more harmonious galaxy." His speech was met with a mixture of reactions. Some delegates nodded in agreement, impressed by the composure and effectiveness of the response. Others, still skeptical, whispered among themselves, weighing the implications of continuing to support such a disruptive initiative. To address the security concerns, Orion proposed an enhancement to the protocol, integrating advanced surveillance and rapid response technologies that could detect and neutralize threats before they escalated. He invited experts from various planets to collaborate on this initiative, ensuring that the solutions would be versatile and adaptable to different environments and species. The proposal was well received, and a task force was established to oversee the integration of these new security measures. Among the task force members was Ambassador Threx of Draxon, who had initially challenged Orion's claims about the protocol. Now, he stood as a strong advocate, swayed by the effectiveness of the team's handling of the crisis. Meanwhile, news of the successful averting of the crisis on Seren 5 spread throughout the galaxy. Media outlets highlighted the bravery and quick thinking of Orion and his team, further solidifying public support for the Paxton Protocol. Stories of the incident, along with interviews with those saved by the team's actions, were broadcast widely, creating a surge of interest in the IIA and its programs. Back at the Academy, enrollment numbers began to climb as more beings from across the galaxy sought to learn about the Paxton Protocol. Orion and Ziklar hosted a series of public lectures and demonstrations to capitalize on this interest, showcasing the peaceful techniques and technologies used during the crisis.